counsel have indicated you want to discuss something.
Very briefly, Your Honor, I'm not clear on the purpose, but Mr. Cunningham had indicated he's put 4 crime scene photographs up on the bulletin board. And I take it to cross-examine my client with him, and I'm objecting to the use of Exhibit 95. Based on my client's testimony thus far, he has no knowledge of that particular angle and depiction. Mr. Cunningham apparently made some remarks to Ms. Lansing that the reason for using that photograph is because of Lyle Menendez's testimony, and I don't see how cross-examining my client on it is appropriate. He didn't testify to anything that leads to that.
Well, as I recall, photograph 95, it is a photograph of Mrs. Menendez on the floor depicting coroner's wound number 7.
It's the legs.
Well, that's coroner wounds number 7, according to my notes anyway.
Yeah, it's the one on the, Mr. Deputy Wolf, turn it to Judge.
Just turn it, the board. Just turn the board. Just turn the board. All right. Shows both the legs of Mr. Menendez and the lower torso and body of Mrs. Menendez.
Correct.
And?
And I'm objecting to that being shown to my client.
And the basis of your objection is that he didn't describe this in his direct testimony?
He described it in his cross or his direct. Hasn't described anything about that view of seeing those injuries.
Mr. Kuriyama?
Yes, Your Honor. It appears that some of the wounds that Mrs. Menendez suffered were suffered as she laid on the ground, on the carpet. The defendant, both defendants have testified that there was only one shot after they had reloaded. It's my belief that Mrs. Menendez could not withstand the 9 wounds that she suffered prior to the fatal contact wound that Lyle Menendez has testified that he gave to her in her left cheek. I believe that she, at some point, dropped to the ground. She suffered more wounds on the ground, and I'm going to question Erik Menendez with respect to that.
Did you wish to be heard further?
Well, if he questions him with respect to that and shows he has a basis upon which to comment on the photograph, that's one thing, but thus far there's been no such case.
Well, certainly the prosecution has the right to display these crime scene photographs to the witness and cross-examine him about them, and whether he does or does not recognize the scenes depicted are matters for him to answer before the jury, and for the jury to evaluate his credibility based upon his answers. But it's certainly an appropriate area of cross-examination. Anything else before the jury comes in?
No, Your Honor. What's he trying to do with that schedule and that?
All right, as soon as you have some information, let me know.
They wanted to do it tomorrow. Why don't we do it Friday?
Well, just let me know when you get some further information. All right, let's have both jury panels in, please. With the cross-examination of the witness, would you state your name again for the record, please?
Erik Galen Menendez.
I'll remind you that you're still under oath. You may continue your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Menendez, you've testified that your mother and your brother Lyle were about the same size, correct?
No, Lyle was roughly 2 to 3 inches taller than her.
And you indicated that you believed your brother's about 5'11"?
5'10", somewhere around there.
And your mother was measured at 5'2" by the coroner. Isn't that correct?
And that would be impossible.
That's impossible?
Reality.
I'm sorry?
That mistakes the testimony.
All right, it's objection is sustained to the form of the question. Answer is stricken.
If the coroner had measured your mother at 62 inches, 5'2", would that be inaccurate?
Yes, it would.
Now, Mr. Menendez, you indicated, well, first of all, when you said that your mother and your brother were roughly the same size, were you trying to mislead the juries?
No, I was not.
Into thinking that your mother was bigger than she was?
No.
To make you more believable when you said you were scared of her?
No.
Were you exaggerating?
No, I wasn't.
Mr. Menendez, you said that when you entered into the family room on the 20th of August, you were the first one into that room, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you indicated that the first person you saw was your father.
Yes.
And you said that he was standing up.
Yes, he was.
Do you remember the testimony of your brother who followed you into that room, is that right?
Yes, he followed me into the room.
Testified that your father was in the process of rising from the couch?
No,
you
I don't
remember
think
that?
he said that.
You don't think he said that?
No, I don't believe so.
Would that be accurate?
No, it wouldn't.
You've indicated that you fired at the first figure you saw?
No, I just started firing as soon as I came in the room. I don't know who I was firing at.
And at the time that you first entered that room, you saw your father first, correct?
Yes.
And you went right into the room.
Yes.
And did you fire as soon as you got through the threshold of the doors?
That's my recollection. I don't know exactly at what point I fired. I just remember firing right after I got into the room.
Is your recollection that you hit your father first?
I don't know.
As you entered into the room, you kept firing.
Yes.
And you indicated that you loaded 5 cartridges into your shotgun, is that right?
Yes, I believe it was 5.
And at first, when you put in the bird shot, you had loaded 2 cartridges, correct?
Yes.
And you thought that that was sufficient?
At first, before Saturday night, when my dad was banging on the door, and then I realized that I thought I was going to die because 2 shells, it just didn't seem enough for me right then.
So that's what you were thinking about when you loaded?
When I loaded
Loaded your
on-
5 cartridges?
No, on Saturday night I was thinking, why didn't I load more? And on Sunday I loaded all the way I could.
So that was you loaded as many as you could. You're not sure how many you loaded then?
As many as I could.
Did you hear your brother shooting as you entered? Did he shoot as soon as he came through the doors?
I just remember all sorts of noise, banging and so on. I don't remember whether the noise was coming from my gun or from his.
Now, you remember there was testimony by the autopsy surgeon that there was a contact wound to the back of your father's head, correct?
Yes.
To the back of his head.
Yes.
Did you see your brother go behind your father at any time?
No, I didn't know about that wound until after I was arrested.